The room didn't erupt. It froze. Cameras were rolling. Sneakers were squeaking. Conversations were happening in the background. And then USA coach Kara Lawson said 7 words that sent shockwaves through the entire basketball world. She is unbelievable. Not shouted. Not hyped. Said calmly. Confidently. Like someone stating a fact they knew would change everything. And in that exact moment, the future cracked open. Because when a woman like Kara Lawson speaks, people listen differently. She's not a commentator chasing clicks. She's not a fan caught in the moment. She's a gatekeeper. A decision maker. A voice that doesn't waste praise. And insiders say the reaction behind the scenes was immediate and explosive. Phones lit up. Staffers looked at each other. One source claims a veteran player muttered, "So it's official now." Caitlin Clark had officially crossed the line. Within minutes, the clip was everywhere. Twitter timelines combusted. Group chats went into meltdown. Fans screamed that this was the confirmation they'd been waiting for. Critics panicked. Analysts scrambled to reframe old takes. And buried beneath the noise was one terrifying realization for everyone else in the league. This wasn't hype. This was an endorsement. Rumors started flying instantly. Whispers of closed-door conversations. Alleged leaked audio from camp. Claims that Clark's impact in scrimmages was even bigger than what the public saw. And just when people thought it was just praise, insiders began saying the comment changed plans. Rotations. Expectations. Futures. Because once the highest level starts saying it out loud, there's no going back. And what happened next made that single sentence feel like a warning. The moment didn't look dramatic at first. No music sting. No slow zoom. Just bodies moving at full speed inside a closed USA basketball gym where nothing is supposed to leak. But insiders swear you could feel it before anyone said anything. The tempo changed. The energy shifted. Players who had been casually rotating suddenly locked in. And at the center of it all was Caitlin Clark, pushing the ball up the floor like she never left, like the entire weight of the sport wasn't sitting on her shoulders. According to a leaked practice recap that surfaced hours later, Clark didn't ask for control. She took it. One possession at a time. Calling out coverages. Snapping passes into tight windows. Pulling defenders 2 steps too far before hitting a teammate wide open. One assistant allegedly whispered, "She's already running it," before quickly realizing a microphone was closer than expected. That's when the first tension surfaced. Not between Clark and the staff, but between Clark and expectations that were never supposed to be this loud this fast. Some players welcomed it. Others stiffened. One insider claimed a veteran stopped mid-drill and asked, "Are we adjusting already?" The room didn't answer. The ball just moved faster. Then came the scrimmage everyone is now dissecting frame by frame. Clark matched up against elite defenders. No easing in. No grace period. She took contact. Absorbed it. Reset. And then, on a possession that's already been replayed a million times online, she froze her defender with a hesitation that looked unfair, stepped back, and buried a jumper so clean the net barely moved. The gym didn't erupt. It went quiet. The dangerous kind of quiet. Because silence is what happens when professionals recognize something undeniable. That's when Kara Lawson stood up. Not immediately. That detail matters. According to 2 separate sources, Lawson watched 3 more possessions before saying anything. She watched Clark rotate defensively. She watched her communicate. She watched her correct a spacing issue without looking at the bench. Then she nodded once, like a final piece had clicked into place. And then she said it. She is unbelievable. Not for the cameras. Not for the fans. For the room. That's where the dominoes started falling. Within minutes, word spread inside the facility that Lawson's comment wasn't casual. It was confirmation. A leaked DM allegedly sent from one staffer to another read, that wasn't praise. That was alignment. Screenshots of that message exploded across private basketball group chats before anyone could stop them. The public clip hit soon after, and chaos followed. Twitter timelines split instantly. One side celebrated like the future had arrived early. The other side bristled, accusing the media of crowning too soon, of disrespecting veterans, of manufacturing a narrative. Analysts tried to keep it measured, but even they sounded unsure. One went on air saying, "You don't usually hear that from Kara unless it's earned," and immediately knew he'd said too much. Because what fans didn't see was what insiders started leaking next. According to an anonymous camp attendee, Clark had already been flagged before the praise went public. The report claimed her scrimmage efficiency was off the charts, not just in scoring, but in decision-making speed. One line from that report spread everywhere: "She's 2 reads ahead of everyone else." That line became gasoline. Former players chimed in. Coaches subtweeted. Fans pulled old clips to prove they'd been right all along. Critics accused the league of shifting the spotlight unfairly. But behind the noise, something more volatile was happening. The hierarchy was adjusting. Another leak claimed a rotation was quietly changed after that session. Not announced. Not explained. Just altered. Clark got more representatives with the primary unit. More responsibility initiating sets. Less hesitation from teammates who suddenly trusted where the ball would be. And trust, in elite basketball, is everything. That's when the first confrontation rumor surfaced. According to a post that went viral then disappeared, one player allegedly questioned the sudden emphasis during a break. The response wasn't defensive. It was calm. Kara Lawson reportedly said, "We're responding to what the game is telling us." No names. No arguments. Just direction. That response alone ignited another wave online. Fans interpreted it as a declaration. Detractors framed it as favoritism. Neutral observers realized something irreversible was happening. You don't respond unless something undeniable is forcing your hand. Meanwhile, Clark stayed silent. No quotes. No posts. No victory laps. Just practice footage. Defense. Communication. Sweat. That restraint only intensified the reaction. One commentator said, "If she was loud, this would feel manufactured. The fact that she's quiet is what makes it scary." Then came the celebrity reactions. NBA players liked the clip. Unliked it. Liked it again. A-list athletes from other sports reposted with no captions. Music artists commented fire emojis and eyes. None of them explained why. They didn't need to. Everyone understood momentum when they saw it. The backlash came just as fast. A well-known pundit tried to downplay the praise, calling it one moment in camp. He was immediately buried under replies pointing out that Lawson doesn't do moments. She does standards. The clip of his take was ratioed so hard it became its own meme. And then the pressure hit league offices. According to a whispered report, someone in a leadership meeting allegedly said, "We're watching demand shift in real time." That sentence alone sparked 1,000 theories about marketing, scheduling, and power. Because Caitlin Clark wasn't just moving defenders anymore. She was moving conversations. Then the second on-court moment, and that's when the final moment of this chapter landed. According to multiple insiders, a late scrimmage stalled. Sloppy passes. Bad spacing. Kara Lawson stopped play, looked directly at Clark, and said something that never made it to camera. Clark nodded once. The next 3 possessions were surgical. No wasted movement. No confusion. Buckets. No celebration. Just control. After practice, when asked about Clark's return, Lawson repeated the line, slower this time, like she knew exactly what it would do once it hit the world. She is unbelievable. And this time, no one argued. Because whatever this was becoming, it was no longer hype. It was direction. And the scariest part, for everyone else, wasn't what Clark had already done. It was what she was clearly about to be allowed to do next. The second phase didn't arrive with noise. It arrived with tension. The kind you feel when everyone knows something has shifted, but no one has officially acknowledged it yet. Inside the USA basketball environment, insiders say the vibe changed overnight. Conversations were shorter. Eye contact lingered longer. People stopped debating hypotheticals and started reacting to reality. Because the praise didn't just land with fans. It landed with the players. According to a leaked staff note that began circulating quietly, Clark's role wasn't being tested anymore. It was being trusted. That distinction mattered. Testing means leash. Trust means keys. And suddenly, she had them. During the next closed session, Clark reportedly opened the scrimmage as the primary initiator. No announcement. No explanation. Just the ball in her hands on the first possession. One insider claimed a teammate looked toward the bench instinctively, as if checking whether this was intentional. Kara Lawson didn't move. Didn't nod. Didn't correct it. The play unfolded perfectly. That's when the internal friction surfaced. Not jealousy. Something more dangerous. Adjustment. Because in elite environments, change is hardest not for those being passed, but for those who thought time was still on their side. A whisper began moving through the gym that this wasn't about development anymore. It was about readiness. And readiness doesn't wait. The next clip that leaked didn't show a highlight. It showed control. Clark walking the ball up, slowing everything down, calling a set, then immediately waving it off when she saw the defense shift. She reset the possession mid-motion and hit a cutter who hadn't even finished reacting yet. The bench reaction was subtle, but unmistakable. Heads nodded. One assistant reportedly said under their breath, "She's already coaching." That sentence never made it to a microphone, but it made it to the internet. Once that phrase started circulating, the debate turned vicious. Critics accused the narrative of erasing veterans. Supporters fired back with film breakdowns, showing Clark doing exactly what leaders are supposed to do. The conversation stopped being emotional and started being technical, which only made it worse for skeptics. Because the tape backed it up. Then came the leak that poured gasoline on everything. A private message allegedly sent from within the camp surfaced, claiming Lawson had addressed the staff directly. The message paraphrased her saying, "We don't slow players like this down. We let the game tell us how fast to move." That line exploded online, instantly framed as both a warning and a green light. The internet split again. Some called it reckless. Others called it overdue. Everyone called it seismic. Meanwhile, the players felt it first. Clark's voice reportedly got louder. Not in volume, but in authority. Calling switches. Correcting angles. Telling teammates where the second help was coming from before it arrived. One insider claimed a veteran laughed during a break and said, "All right, I hear you, not sarcastically, but with respect. That moment mattered. Because respect isn't given. It's surrendered. And then came the confrontation everyone's been whispering about. According to a now-deleted post from someone claiming to be in the building, a player questioned whether the attention was skewing preparation. Kara Lawson reportedly didn't argue. She asked one question instead: is the ball moving? Silence followed. She nodded and ended the discussion. That exchange, real or rumored, became legend within hours. Fans latched onto it as proof. Critics dismissed it as mythology. But insiders say the point wasn't the question. It was the confidence behind it. Lawson wasn't defending Clark. She was defending basketball. And Clark just happened to be the clearest expression of it. Social media chaos reached a new level when another short clip dropped, showing Clark defending full court, talking non-stop, directing traffic while still pressuring the ball. The caption read, "Leadership isn't loud." That post alone sparked thousands of arguments in comment sections about what leadership should look like, who gets credit for it, and why it suddenly felt threatening to some people. Then the celebrity reactions escalated. Former Olympians reposted the clip with knowing captions. NBA guards commented about vision and pace. A retired legend liked the post and wrote nothing else. That silence spoke louder than any breakdown. Behind the scenes, pressure mounted. According to a whispered report, someone in league leadership allegedly asked, "Are we ready for what this does to expectations?" That question wasn't about Clark alone. It was about scheduling, broadcasting, exposure, and the uncomfortable truth that attention follows excellence whether you plan for it or not. And Clark kept doing the same thing. Showing up. Playing defense. Taking contact. Talking constantly. Then came the moment that almost derailed everything. During a high-intensity segment, Clark took a hard hit driving into traffic. She went down. The gym froze. Trainers stood. Cameras adjusted. Social media held its breath even before the clip surfaced. Clark got up slowly, nodded to the staff, and waved them off. She stayed in. That decision alone sparked a new wave of discourse. Supporters called it toughness. Critics called it unnecessary. Insiders called it leadership by example. Because in that environment, availability is credibility. Kara Lawson watched closely. According to one source, she said nothing in the moment. But later, during a break, she reportedly pulled Clark aside for a brief exchange. No one heard the words. But the body language told a story. Calm. Direct. Respectful. When Clark returned to the floor, she immediately set up a teammate for a wide-open three. No ego. Just flow. By the end of the session, it was clear something irreversible had happened. The team wasn't orbiting Clark because of hype. They were aligning because it worked. And the internet felt it. Analysts who had hedged began shifting tone. Phrases like "small sample" disappeared. Replaced by "trend." Replaced by "impact." Even critics began adding caveats like, "if this continues," which everyone recognized as retreat. The most telling moment came late that night. A short, anonymous post appeared on a coaching forum. It read, "You don't rush greatness. You also don't pretend it isn't there." The post was deleted within minutes. Screenshots spread anyway. That line became the quiet thesis of the entire conversation. Because nobody was rushing Caitlin Clark. They were catching up to her. And as the second phase closed, one question hung over everything. Not whether she was ready, but whether everyone else was ready to stop pretending this was just another return. Because the praise had already turned into permission. And permission changes everything. The third phase didn't announce itself with highlights or quotes. It arrived as inevitability. Inside the gym, insiders say the energy wasn't tense anymore, it was settled. Not relaxed. Settled. Like a room that has already accepted the outcome, and is now adjusting its posture around it. Because once praise turns into permission, the next step is responsibility. And Caitlin Clark stepped into it without hesitation. According to multiple whispered accounts, the final closed scrimmage of camp was where everything crystallized. No cameras. No clips. Just basketball at its sharpest. The kind of run where mistakes are punished immediately and silence speaks louder than feedback. Clark started the session off-ball. That detail mattered. It wasn't about showcasing. It was about reading the game. 3 possessions in, the offense stalled. Spacing collapsed. A defender jumped a passing lane. Before the bench could react, Clark called for the ball, reset the action, and orchestrated a sequence so clean it felt rehearsed, except it wasn't. The pass hit the pocket. The weak side cut arrived on time. The finish was automatic. No celebration. Just a nod. That's when Kara Lawson stood again. Not to speak. To watch. Sources say Lawson didn't say a word for the next several minutes. She didn't need to. The gym had already adjusted. Teammates started looking to Clark earlier in possessions. Defenders shifted in anticipation of her reads. The pace bent around her like gravity had changed. One insider put it bluntly, the game reorganized. That line spread quietly at first. Then everywhere. When the scrimmage ended, the room didn't erupt. There was no applause. Just heavy breathing and eye contact, the kind that says everyone knows what just happened. According to a leaked staff recap, Lawson addressed the group with a single sentence, "That's the standard." No names. No caveats. Everyone knew who she meant. Social media felt the shift before it saw it. A late-night post from a respected analyst read, "This isn't about hype cycles anymore." Another from a former player simply said, "I've seen this before." Neither explained further. They didn't have to. Then came the quiet confirmation that sent the internet into meltdown. A short clip surfaced, not from a game, not even from a drill, but from a timeout huddle. Clark wasn't centered in the frame, but her voice was clear. Calm. Direct. She called out coverage, identified a mismatch, and assigned roles. No one talked over her. No one questioned it. That clip spread like wildfire. Comment sections stopped arguing about potential and started debating timelines. How soon? How fast? How permanent? Critics who had once pushed back now hedged with phrases like, "If she maintains this," which everyone recognized as surrender dressed up as analysis. The backlash didn't disappear. It intensified, then changed shape. Some accused the system of moving too fast. Others warned about pressure. A few tried to reframe the story as media overreach. But the counterargument was relentless and simple, the film. You can't out-talk execution. Then the celebrity reactions reached a new tier. NBA stars posted reaction emojis. A Hall of Famer shared the clip with the caption, "This is what it looks like." A coach from another sport commented, "Leadership travels." None of them mentioned names. None of them needed